and quickly. So while you're waiting, be sure to say hello, be sure to share this out, and be sure to tell me who you are and where you're watching from, okay? Whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. So let me just get the Instagram together, and then we're going to get this party started. Be sure to share this out. Yes, hey Kiki. So let me go live here on Instagram. Hey Ashni, hey Tracy, hey everybody. Let me just put my title here in Instagram, and we're going to get started. Hold on. And while I'm sharing, y'all be sure to share. Tell my family about my child's autism diagnosis. Okie dokie. So we got Instagram going on. So let me do my official introduction and we will get this party started, okay? Here we go. Hey everybody, my name is Bernadette Henry and I am a mental health and emotional wellness coach for busy working moms. Short form, I'm a life coach and I help moms manage their stress so that they can do the things that they want to do in life. And I do that by providing the tools, resources, and strategies that you need. And those could come in forms of one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking engagements, ebooks, and courses. Okay, so these are all the things that I do in order to help you. So today's topic is, should I tell my family and friends that my child is autistic or have a disability? So, first of all, when you're a parent and you hear about a diagnosis, you have to go through certain stages. And for this, I'm going to coin this from suspecting to accepting, because between those two phases, there are different things that come in place. You know, you got to go to the denial, the anger, the guilt, the shame. It's so many things that go from suspecting to accepting. And I think the first thing I would say to this is you have to be able to accept this first, or you must be in full acceptance before you maybe spread the news to your friends or your family. And why I say this is because many people have a stigma of what autism is or what autism look like. But what I'm going to tell you is that there is no look. There is no look to autism. If I put a picture of my children right now, nobody could sit and point and say, that's the one with autism. You just won't be able to tell, you know? And that's my whole point. There is no look. You can never tell if a child has autism. And a lot of times people have these preconceived notions because they may have an experience of watching Rain Man. So they think that every time they hear that somebody has autism, they think of Rain Man from the movie, from some of y'all that's kind of up there in age. I know what I'm talking about. Or you may hear something bad on the news about an autistic child that did something, hey Jenny, that did something wrong, and you're like, you know, you have this bad or negative perception. Or you may know children that wear helmets, and that's kind of your idea of what a person with autism looks like, okay? So you cannot, my point being is that you cannot look at a child and tell that they're autistic or have a disability. Now, once you accept the fact that your child, you know, is autistic, you necessarily don't have to go shout out to the world like, hey, my child is autistic, you know. However, I think that it comes a point where you sharing with other people, it becomes essential. You know, number one, when talking to people, you can explain to your knowledge what autism is. So you kind of dispel some of those myths, and you get to come from your standpoint of what you learned or what you researched. So you get to say, hey, I know you see this, but this is really what it is. You know, like for example, when I first started telling people that my child was autistic, I remember one close person to me said, hey, oh good, you're going to apply for a social security check now? And I'm like, really? And I had another person like, oh, let's go buy him a helmet, you know? And, you know, you just get all of these different reactions. Now, I did have, you know, like the most common reaction because of Rain Man, or like other examples. Most people all know that autistic children are like very, very smart. So that's like probably the only positive thing that people have to say. But other than that, they all have a negative perception. So if I say, yeah, my son's autistic, oh yeah, he mad smart. Yes, my child is smart, you know, but there's more to my child than being smart. So why would you tell a family member or a friend that your child is autistic? Number one, because there are certain characteristics that, you know, because autism is like an inside thing. On the outside, you can't tell, but on the inside, or, you know, there are certain characteristics. So number one, depending on the situation that they're in, children with autism have sensory overload. So some children don't like a lot of light, or some children, they don't like disorder, or some children, you know, some things you can't like talk at 100 miles an hour because the processing system, it takes them more time to process things in their own way. There's just like several things, like they may not like loud noise. They may not like disorder. They may not like, you know, a fire. What if you're somewhere and the fire alarms go off? You know, or what if there's an emergency and they're coming and law enforcement is coming in? You just want, like, if somebody's watching your child, or if you're in certain situations, you just want people to have an awareness so that they are able to explain. Because, you know, if you have a child that's autistic and, like, say you're at a party, like for little kids, and the music goes way loud and the child starts acting out and the adults are like, what's going on? They don't know. These are just one of the characteristics that you would want someone to be aware of, okay? Also, a child with autism, they basically may talk about weird topics, okay? So like my son, he talks about sharks all day, every day. And this has been like 2 or 3 years. Or now his big thing is Mario. So if you have a first interaction with my son, he's going to just say like, do you play Mario? And his whole conversation is going to revolve around Mario. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter like how many times you try to change the topic, his mind frame is, I'm going to talk about Mario, and that's all we're going to talk about. And it's funny because, you know, just a few months ago, like I said, my son is obsessed with sharks. So a few months ago, we met this guy, right? It was such a random encounter, and this guy actually liked sharks. So I was like, yes, I'm gonna watch him have a real conversation back and forth about sharks. So they were talking, and it's like he just had his own agenda. So like when you're talking to a child with autism, they have an agenda. So it's like beginning, middle, end. That's the script. I don't care what somebody else say. That's the script. So, you know, he started out talking to the man about sharks. And then it just so happened that this guy, you know, he was interested in sharks. He did like sharks. So then he started to, you know, talk about how he travels to different countries and he studies sharks. And I was so interested, but it's like every time the guy said something, instead of acknowledging what he said, he was on to his next point of what he wanted to say. So sometimes having a conversation can be kind of weird. It's kind of one-sided because they have a hard time interacting with others or having that inability to have a back and forth conversation, okay? Also, you get a chance to share challenges that the child go through. Also, too, it's a disclosure of difference. So if you have the same amount of children, 5 children that are the same age, but maybe to you, his behavior is off. So, you know, you just don't want your child to feel singled out, you know? Also, too, you want to be able to disclose to the right people. So if you have your child, say, for instance, in karate, and this is not like an autism specific group karate, because they do have special programs for people that just fit this particular criteria. So my son, he has Asperger's, so he's on the high end of the spectrum, but still it doesn't take away that he has autism. So when he was in karate, but when I first enrolled him, I went to the teacher and I said, hey, he has autism. These are some of the things that you may have experienced. And when he first started going in, he didn't like using his name. So when he was signing pizza. And so he was comfortable with the instructors and everyone involved at the school. Then he would use Yaren. But it was an adjustment period. So depending on which social setting or which group your child is in, you want to ensure that these people know what's going on, so that if they see weird behaviors, or they can kind of limit some of the things that will set your child off. So you really want to be mindful of this, and this is reasons why you should tell other people. Also, I discussed the restrictive behaviors, the repetitive behaviors. Now, one reason why, or a huge reason why, a parent may not even want to tell family, friends, or things like that, is because, because of people's already perceived perceptions, they may start to maybe do things like talk to your child louder, or talk to your child really slow, as if they're like slow. Like, you talking to a child in a heightened voice might cause that child to act out, because guess what? They have sensory overload. And me talking even in this tone to a child with sensory overload, it may sound like you're shouting. Because what happens with autism is that the senses are heightened. So they hear more. Their taste buds are different. Or they, have aversions to certain food and textures. They can see more. So like it's so strong that like if I put a different seasoning or a new seasoning in chicken, for example, he's like, Mom, what did you do to this chicken? So he can notice, or he can tell that something changed, and it's crazy like that. Or I could be whispering, right? And my son can hear in an earshot, because the senses are heightened. So, I've watched videos on YouTube, and they kind of showed an example of like what sensory overload is. And they used an example of a mall. So in a mall, there's a lot of people, they're walking, people are talking, people are laughing, there's rides going on, there's people selling stuff. And to them, it just sounds like a whole lot of chaos, and it's hard to process, and that can cause an autistic child to act out. Also, too, so this is a reason why you would want to, tell people, so that they can be aware. Also, for the child, when you let family and friends know, because they're aware, they can kind of prepare themselves and counteract any negative interaction that may happen as a result of like maybe being around other children. Because the children, you really don't want to like tell other children, but you want the adult to know, so they can manage conflicts or any kind of weird interaction that they may see. So for example, you want your child to feel less weird and more accepted. You don't want them to feel like something is different with them, okay? And also, for the child's sake, you don't want them to see their autism as a disability, because technically, yes, autism is a disability, but you want your child to feel as normal as possible. And because at the end of the day, your child is your child, you gotta, treat your child as such. So these are a few reasons why you would want to, let family and friends know about your child's autism diagnosis. And you have to, like I said, the very, 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 very first thing or the very first way that you can be effective in this is you fully accepting the diagnosis. If you do not fully accept the diagnosis as of yet, like, it's just no need for you to really tell anybody. But if your child is going to be in the care of someone else, or if you're with someone else and you don't want to have your child act out and then everybody's looking at you weird, you may want to let them know, okay, look, this is going on. And it's your opportunity to break the stigma and to really explain to people what autism is and not. Also, too, autism is a spectrum, okay? Autism is a spectrum. So it could go from 1 to 10. And yes, there are characteristics that are typical. Yes, like there are certain symptoms that all autism children have, but